Outlander's 5th season is coming soon. Like Jamie and Claire Fraser, our love for the drama endures even after it has been off the air for a year. Here are some crazy things in Outlander that you probably didn't know because we dove deep into the production. First up, it was inspired by Doctor Who. It may seem unlikely unless you take into account its sci-fi elements, but Diana Gabaldon first had the idea for the Outlander novel series while she was binge-watching an old Doctor Who episode, specifically observing Fraser Hines' Jamie dressed in a kilt. I was thinking a historical novel might be the easiest book to write for practice when I happened to see an old Doctor Who rerun. Diana told Scotland Now, Jamie struck me with his attitude and male gallantry, and I thought the kilt was rather fetching. Next up, it was almost a Katherine Heigl movie. Outlander was initially intended to be a feature-length film before becoming a television series, and the filmmakers of that film thought Katherine Heigl was their Claire. The former Grey's Anatomy star hinted that Outlander would be her next endeavor in a 2010 feature in the New York Times, Scotland, 2012. What do you think? Heigl asked. First off, the show has its own cookbook author who used recipes from the show to create the Outlander kitchen. After some well-known Scottish chefs expressed concern that it would give people a false impression of Scottish food, she was obliged to justify her decision to include contemporary American dishes with traditional Scottish ones in the book. Claire Saunders correctly pointed out that the critiques were caused by a slight misunderstanding of the novel's narrative, which takes place in Scotland and the US. Next up, Diana Gabaldon pushed Ronald Moore to develop the show. The series' introductory volume, titled Outlander, was released in '91. Its transition to the small screen took a lot of work. In the end, Diana was the one who persuaded the executive producer, Ronald D. Moore, that he was, in fact, the most qualified to make the series succeed. Diana stated of Moore's pilot script for the program, "I told him, she's the first thing I've ever read based on my work that didn't make me turn white or burst into flames." Next off, Claire was cast just a few weeks before filming began. Even though Claire is the series' main character, Katrina Balfe didn't receive the role until just a few weeks before production got underway. At the outset, I told everyone that we would find Claire first and then Jamie would be the last one cast, and of course it was exactly the opposite, Moore told E! News. It was tough to find Claire. Sam came in early in the process and was literally the first one we cast. We saw the tape and we were like, oh my god, there he is. Let's snatch him up now. Claire took a long time after that. Many actresses and tons of tape were used to search for truly indescribable traits. She needed to be able to think clearly while being filmed. Thus, she also needed to be intelligent and strong-willed. However, when Katrina's tape eventually arrived, we experienced the same aha moment. Next up, the Sony hack revealed the former UK Prime Minister David Cameron wanted the series to be delayed. Among the many Hollywood secrets revealed in the aftermath of the Sony breach was that the former Prime Minister David Cameron met with Sony to request that the series launch in the United Kingdom be delayed. What was the purpose of his request? He thought it would be better if the show about Scottish rebels was airing at a different time than a historic vote in the UK to decide whether Scotland should remain a part of the UK or become its own independent country. He received the postponed release date from Sony. Next off, the costumes make the characters. Many of the series' leading performers have asserted that the costumes are what let them connect with their roles, even though they might not always be comfortable with those corsets and other gear. Katrina told the New York Times, "Once you're sucked into these corsets, you realize how constrained women were. Your ability to emote, vocalize, and be physical is restricted purely because of your clothes," she added. Next up, the costumes were a culinary makeover. The crew uses various inventive techniques, some of which you may learn in culinary school, to give the show's garments a worn-in look they needed for realism. The costume department used various techniques, including cheese graters, blow torches, sandpaper, and pumice stones to give the clothing on the show a worn-in appearance. While some of the clothing is torched using blowtorches, other pieces are tied up and baked. Next off, Sam Heughan spends the most time in the makeup chair. Sam spends the longest in the makeup chair out of all of the performers, primarily to give his character back the necessary bruised and battered appearances. "It's ridiculous," he said. "I'll get into makeup at 4 a.m. and be there until 8 or 9 a.m. and you have to stand for most of it." Next up, Claire's modernity is what attracted Katrina Balfe to the role. She felt like a very modern woman, she told Elle magazine. She's very intelligent, solid, and found herself in a place where she's constantly having to fight for who she is. It's such a crazy concept for her to not stand up and fight for what she believes is right and just. She never sees herself as a victim and uses whatever she has to get through adverse times. Next up, half of the viewers of the show are male. According to Sam, about half of their audience in the United States is male. That's intriguing too, and as you may know, the show wasn't created exclusively for women. The main character is a woman, and every male can find something there. There are many more graphic scenes than only private ones. Brutality exists. Next up, Hewan likes the show's egalitarian philosophy. Sam talked about how his character Jamie has sort of reversed the traditional roles of men and women. Still, he believes the program presents them as being on equal footing. They are both intelligent and their relationship is harmonious. She teaches him a lot, but he also teaches her how to behave in an unfamiliar culture. They enhance one another. Next up, many of the show's essential lockdowns are accessible in real life. Visit Scotland has put out a map of some of Outlander's real-life locales to profit from the success of the series, such as Doune Castle, which serves as the inspiration for Castle Leoch and is located close to Stirling. The Blackness Castle serves as a stand-in for Fort William, and there is no such thing as Craig na Dun, the prehistoric stone circle that transports Claire back in time. But you may visit Kinloch Rannoch to view the region yourself. Next off, light bulb moment. The producer Ronald Moore described the search for Claire as involving several actresses, many tapes seeking for absolutely intangible attributes. She had to be intelligent, possess moral integrity, and basically be someone you could watch on camera. However, Moore claims that when they came across Katrina's audition tape, they experienced a light bulb moment. Next up, despite 7 auditions, the actor Sam Hewan was unsuccessful in landing a role in Game of Thrones despite the two shows' apparent connections. In addition to Sam, several prominent Outlander actors also appeared in Game of Thrones, though not without trying. The Scottish actor joked that he tried out for the roles of Renly Bathrin, Loras Tyrell, and numerous Night Watch members in an interview with Vulture in 2016. Finn Jones would finally take the role of Loras Tyrell in the series. Next up, Diana Gabaldon once described Sam Hewan as grotesque. Diana said about his casting, "They said they were sending me the audition tapes, but I was on the road, so I googled him on my iPhone as we were driving. He had little film work and a series of bizarre still photos." She hilariously recalled texting the showrunners after looking over Sam's images and saying, "This man is grotesque, what are you thinking?" Fortunately, she swiftly changed her mind after watching his audition film, and now she only has great things to say about the Scottish actor. Next off, is Outlander based on actual events? Diana, renowned for her thorough research, initially provided some background on her work for the novels. The historical detail in the books is as accurate as history is, i.e., what people wrote down wasn't always complete or accurate, but they did write it down, she tells Parade.com exclusively. "When I had to deviate from the historical record, rare, but it happens, or find that I've made a mistake or overlooked something, I'll note that." The books have author notes at the back, and 2 outlandish companion books provide additional material and commentary. So how does the show perform her diligent work on the books? The show is much more flexible, shall we say, Diana says. All designers, builders, and prose people are dedicated researchers and crafters. Their work is beautiful, detailed, and painstaking to the nth degree. However, as long as the broad strokes are accurate, history sometimes needs to be altered for the screen. Next up, Jamie Fraser. Was he real? George Washington, Bonnie Prince Charlie, and King Louis XV of France are just a few of the historical personalities featured in Outlander. However, the primary characters are made up, or are they? I took Jamie from the name of a Doctor Who character who originally caused me to choose Scotland as my setting, Diana told the National Geographic. According to Eric's novel The Prince and the Heather, 19 injured Jacobite officers sought sanctuary in the farmhouse next to the field after the battle. They lay there for 2 days in agony, their wounds neglected, except for one guy, Fraser, from the Master of Lovett's regiment, who survived the massacre. They were all hauled out and shot after that period. Indeed, Jamie is wounded in the conflict and hides in the farmhouse before being arrested by the British and nearly escaping death. The 6th season of Outlander has just finished production in Scotland, and fans are eager to see what happens next. Undoubtedly, the blockbuster program is to blame for the the phenomena that has spread worldwide, making the Scottish lead and the filming sites famous. Make sure you let us know your thoughts down below. Thanks for watching.